these people coming sooner? Wait, let's go ahead and start, okay. Ready? Or yeah, 1, 2, go. Okay. Well, good morning, and welcome to Unity of Buffalo, a positive path for spiritual living. And we're blessed to have those that felt safe coming in this morning. It's so good to have people here in the room, and all the people watching online, either right now or throughout the week. My name is Reverend Mary Masters. It's my pleasure to be the senior minister, and we'll get started here. If you're in the room and you have a cell phone, just a reminder to quiet your phone so that we can really be 100% present for each other in our shared experience this morning. So we're going to begin with a song that is one that is a good affirmation for every day, I think. Peace like a river. And I think our choir is going to lead the singing, but wonderful. Okay. Well, good morning again. Welcome. Just take a deep breath, and we've all arrived safely, and that's good. So let's begin with an opening prayer, if you'll join me in taking a deep breath and knowing that this is the day that the Lord hath made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. And so we come together this morning with our hearts filled with gratitude, with peace, knowing that our Sunday morning services are a celebration, a connection point, a time to come together to connect with each other and with the divine presence within us, knowing that there is always a plan at work that is lifting us up higher, inspiring us, providing the light for our path. And so we are grateful in advance for the gift of our time together this morning, for our ministry, and for all the ways that God is working in our lives. And so it is. Amen. And our invocation together: there is only one presence and one power living as the universe and as me, God the good, omnipotent. And so I don't think there is anyone new this morning, although we do have some new friends coming soon, so we'll bless them later. So our Unity Church blessing for Unity of Buffalo is we affirm together our vision and mission and core values. So let's do that now. Our vision is a world of love, peace, and abundance for all. And our mission, our part to play, is practicing the presence of God through prayer, education, service, creativity, and community. And we also remind ourselves, each week that we have our growing edges, our places where we're still growing and expanding and learning new ways to really be the best that we can be. And so we just say, please have compassion for us when we are. And you can say some of these if you'd like, avoiding conflict or lacking transparency, unskillfully communicating, not being present, spiritually bypassing, and holding a consciousness of not enough. That sometimes we just do these things. But we are growing into who we have come here to be. And this is who we show up as most of the time, and this is who we're always affirming, that we are loving, spiritually centered, inclusive, respectful, compassionate, and authentic. And what we're all about, our evolutionary purpose, what I see really people sharing a lot, and I want to remind you, we're always looking for, if you've got a story to share, please share it with us. But our evolutionary purpose is, and that's the next slide here, transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in our world. So, one of the ways we do this is reading the daily word, and Susan Sweeney is our reader for today to share a message about world peace.
Good morning, everyone. Wonderful to see you all here today. Today is our day for world peace. I hold a vision of a peaceful world. The peace I wish to see in the world begins in my own heart. To call upon the peace within me and bring it into the world, I use my spiritual gift of love to feel in harmony with all others. I use my power of imagination to envision the world filled with peace. And through my gift of will, I choose peaceful responses, no matter the circumstance. I envision God's healing, loving power, enfolding the earth and all its people. As I claim this spiritual vision, my heart is lifted, and it's easier for me to perpetuate peace. The notion that others are holding the same vision of a peaceful world encourages and comforts me. I pray for our shared goal of peace on earth touches every heart and mind in every corner of the globe. Today's verse is, "Those of steadfast mind you keep in peace because they trust in you." That comes from Isaiah 26, verse 3. Would you say with me today our vision that we hold? I hold a vision of a peaceful world. Thank you. And so it is.
So it is, yeah. Thank you, Susan. Careful, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that ended peacefully. No, that's okay. I'm just glad you're okay. So, good morning and welcome. Today we're taking time to honor Black History Month, and I thought, there's so many things I could say about it. But one of the things I want to say is one of the things I love about Black History Month is that it reminds me of one of my favorite passages in the Bible. And I could ask you right now to guess what that is, and we could probably be here all day because you won't guess the one that I'm going to say. But I'm going to read it to you. I don't often pick up the Bible and actually read it during the service, but I thought, you got to hear this one. This is one of my favorite passages. It's the very last verse in the Gospel of John, the very last words. And he says, well, this is the disciple who's testifying all these things that I've written. And then, chapter 21, the very last sentence, verse 25, he says, but there are also many other things that Jesus did. If every one of them were written down, I suppose the world itself could not contain the books that would be written. So what he's saying is, is that I put all this stuff here in this gospel, but you have to know that's not everything that happened. There was a lot more stuff that Jesus said and did. And if we were trying to I just love that image, that metaphor. If we were to try to write it down, the world could not contain all the books it would take to write all this down. It's like, wow, even today, what would that be like? So in a way, he's saying it's infinite. He's saying there's a lot more that happened than what's written down here, and it's infinite. And so, what we're finding in the scholarship about Jesus and in the Bible is that lots more stuff is being revealed, over time through the Gnostic Gospels and other things, and there are things that we'll never know maybe, but there's just a lot more stuff. And of course, we know in unity, we metaphysically interpret the Bible. So when there's a reference to Jesus, it's also a reference to the Christ presence, the divine presence within us. And so what we're saying is that our stories, our life stories, are the divine is at work in each and every one of us every day, right now. And, that I'll never know all the stories of your life. And that each day, continually, the book of Revelation, behold, I am making all things new. That we're continuing to write the stories of our lives and new stories are being made. And so when I think about Black History Month, we're reminded that we don't know. There's a lot we don't know about the history of African American people individually and collectively in our community. And we're learning more all the time, and we're sharing stories and drawing inspiration and hope. And the world itself could not contain the books that it would take to write it all down, everybody's experiences. But this is a time to honor Black people and their experience. And it's also true of so many groups of people, whether they're Asian American or African American or Native American or LGBTQ, that many people's stories have not been told or have been buried or neglected or diminished in some way. And but I think that stories our individual stories are unique. We each have life stories, and there's a universal truth about the nature of stories, that sharing stories is healing. It's when you get to know somebody's story, you feel more connected with them. Even if your politics may be radically different or you may think differently, if you get to know something about somebody's story, you feel some connection or compassion. It helps us understand each other. It helps us to have hope and inspiration and encouragement. And it's also true that stories are often what we turn to in those times when we need comfort and solace. And I had an experience of that this week. I had the gift of going down to Annapolis to be with Bert Anderson and his family in his transition on Thursday evening. And on the day that he passed, it was a long day, after many, many long days of the family supporting him and being in hospice. We finally got back to the house of one of his children, David and Heather. And I so appreciated Heather suggested after dinner, she said, why don't we all share a story about Bert, share a favorite memory about him. And it just it was the most healing thing we could have done. There wasn't anything else we could have done that would have been more perfect. And each person, one by one, took a turn going around sharing something. And they were really interested to hear what I would share because I was outside the family, but I had a different perspective. And I talked about how much Bert loved music, and he loved our posse music. And Bert and Ellen used to host the musicians when we would bring them here for a concert. And I remember he loved for a while we had a little men's quartet of about 4 guys, and they would sing the John Lennon song, Imagine, and imagine all the people living in peace. And then sometimes Bert would come up to me afterward and kind of nudge me, and he said, sorry, Mary, but the song actually says, and no religion, too. Yeah, I get it, but I thought, well, it kind of reminds me about that story about the history of the world. God, at some point in the history of the world, God came down and shared truth with all of us. And then the devil showed up and said, here, let me help you organize this. And that's how religion got started. And we've been in trouble ever since. So I get it. But Bert loved a lot of things. He loved our dog, Perkins. I remember one time he stood up at a meeting and suggested that it would be a great fundraiser for the church to rent out Perkins. Let people take her home for the weekend and pay the church. That would be a great way to raise some money. So, all these, but just the sharing of stories and memories was very healing and comforting. And so I think about Black History Month, that there are so many stories that could be shared of historical figures and well-known people and not so well-known people and everyday people's experiences. But it reminds me of this quote that I have always loved. Is it on? Oh, I didn't turn it on. That would help. From James Baldwin. This means a lot to me. He says, a journey is called that because you cannot know what you will do with what you find, or what you find will do with you. That sometimes I go to be with a family because Bert's passing, and I'm surprised at who I meet or how I connect with or how I'm changed by the experience. And so that's how I think about this journey of learning with Black history or with anything or somebody's stories, is that, and this has been my experience, that I am always changed for the better by what I have found on my journey of learning about Black history or other things that I've changed, and it's changed me. So today we're going to do something a little different. I want to just tell you a little bit about the history of Black History Month, how it came to be, and then Sister Carrone is going to take us on a little tour of some local important points for Black history in our community. But the whole idea of this came from a scholar named Carter G. Woodson, who founded this Association for the Study of African American Life and History in 1915 to research and preserve and disseminate knowledge about African American life. And he did this while he was a graduate student. And so in February 1926, he started what then was referred to as Negro History Week. But then students and staff at the university said, no, a week's not enough, So it evolved into Black History Month. But, and I love this quote, he said, those who have no record of what their forebears have accomplished lose the inspiration which comes from the teaching of biography and history. He was the second African American to receive a PhD at Harvard, and the first one whose parents had been slaves, had been enslaved, to have advanced that far, to have gotten a PhD at Harvard. And it was through working with a group of fraternity brothers that they began to put together some of these ideas for the Negro History and Literature Week. And they chose February because of the link with Abraham Lincoln's birthday and Frederick Douglass's birthday on February 12th and the 14th. But today he's often thought of as the father of Black history. And although he passed in 1950, the momentum that he started has continued to grow, and throughout, especially in the 60s with the Black Power movement, it picked up a lot of momentum so that it became a whole month. And they say that the first observance of Black History Month happened at Kent State University that was organized by a group of students. So he says, for me, education means to inspire people to live more abundantly, to learn to begin with the life they have it as they find it, but to make it better. And then this went on to be recognized by two of our presidents. Gerald Ford in 1976 recognized Black History Month, and 10 years later, Ronald Reagan signed a proclamation as president recognizing National Black History Month. But I thought it was interesting, back as early as the 30s, he was developing curriculum that could be sent out to schools, that included, resources for teachers, pictures and lesson plans and plays for historical performances and posters and, with notable dates and featuring people. And I thought, boy, that's what we do today with, certain things, lesson plans for earth care. And, but that he was really committed to bringing together people of all different fields, sociologists and political scientists and historians, and, taking a holistic view. So over the years here at our church, we've done different things. Several years ago, we took a field trip up to the Niagara Falls Underground Railroad Museum. I think some of us, I was thinking I wish I had pulled up some of those pictures, but we really had a great time and we learned a lot. If you haven't been to that museum, please check it out. And one time we went to the Colored Musicians Club, and Shirley Sarmiento entertained us, and we've gone over and looked at that mural. And so my thought was for this year to have us, with the weather, it was better to stay home, to have a virtual tour of some of the local sites. And fortunately, we have the perfect person to lead us on this tour is Sister Carrone Crump. Is very active in our community and has been to all these places. And she is going to lead us through, I'll let you take it from here.
All right, thank you, Reverend Mary. Thank you so much. Good morning, Unity family. I'm so happy and grateful to be here this morning to be a speaker and represent Black History Month in this capacity. So what we're going to be doing real quick is the historic Michigan Street Baptist Church, which is part of the African American Cultural Heritage Center on Michigan Avenue. And the Michigan Street Baptist Church is a legendary church that was the stopping off point for the slaves that were looking for freedom to go over to Canada. There was a couple of times I took a tour, and there was down in the basement they showed where the slaves would really be parked and hide down in the basement. But just moving forward, the church has just did a hard renovation project, and they had the grand opening a couple of months ago, and it was a very well-attended event. All the dignitaries from New York State and anybody that was a mover and shaker that recognized and appreciate the relevance of the church was there, press releases and everything. And the church is open. They kept it basically in the original state that it was back in the day, but just, make sure everything stay stable and strong, and, have tours with that. Okay, you want to move to the next slide? Christy, thank you. Okay, here we have this is the inside of the church. Okay, so this was during a part of the renovation, and the picture on the left-hand side was the original members of the church. So you see how big that was. The front of the church is not in its original state, but as best that they could keep it. That's a good picture. And then you see the plaque there. It is a historic site for there. And then I see down at the bottom on the left side, the congregation, strong church, actually 150 years that's been there, and I'm just so happy and grateful that now it's a national monument and historic site. Okay, Christy. Okay, go ahead. Okay, the Historical Colored Musicians Club. Now this building right here, right. And my friend, she did those murals, God rest her soul, Lenore Bethel. It's a national and international recognized historic site. And what happened was when we had the likes of Dizzy Gillespie, Ella Fitzgerald, Miles Davis, all of them. Well, when they did what they did here in Buffalo to do their music jazz, and of course, we all know that afterwards they were not able to, socialize or anything, so they still wanted to jam, so they came to this building back in the day, and they just jammed all night, and it was just the spot to go after, they did their thing down on Main or wherever they were, and so we've kept that. That's also a historic landmark with the plaque there, and they really, with the expansion of the African Heritage Quarter, they kept the integrity of this place, especially on the second floor. That's where they had the jam sessions. The first floor has been renovated into a museum, and just an interesting point with that is that the construction company that created when the Twin Towers fell, and you know how they made the monument for the Twin Towers? Well, they came in and created a very beautiful interactive museum on the first floor of this Colored Musicians Club. So it's very wonderful. It's small, but it's very powerful. When you see it, it's just totally state-of-the-art and everything. So I would encourage everybody to come and look at that. So with this Cultural Heritage Corridor, they have also built another part to this Colored Musicians Club that's like on the side, like facing Michigan. It's up now, and it'll probably be open by the end of next year, but it's a whole nother beautiful section of the club, so I can't really wait to see that. Okay, next slide, thank you. Oh, okay, well, yeah, that was, every year the Colored Musicians Club, they have a jazz concert, and they block off right in front of the club on Broadway in Michigan, and they have the stage, and just national and local jazz artists, they come. It's for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, and they just do their thing in the jazz. So we always attend that and bring our chairs and enjoy that jazz. Okay, next slide, thank you. Okay, the Nash House. This is part of the Michigan Avenue corridor. Mr. Nash, he was the minister of the Michigan Street Avenue Church, and his house, the Nash House they call it now, he lived like sort of like behind the house. And he was scholarly, he was involved with everything, with the movement of the culture back then. He would always meet with Frederick Douglass and Mary Talbert, and was instrumental with starting the NAACP. But he was just so scholarly, they just wanted to create this replica, and you can also tour that, and things are basically like they are when he was there, and it's just a wonderful rendition of, those are some of his artifacts. Some of his original papers are in the house, and they always have tours with that too. Thank you so much. Okay, the next slide. Okay, and last but not least, WUFO. WUFO, Black Radio History Collective, is the first Black history radio museum in the country. The owner is a very good friend, young sister, Sheila Brown. She's the CEO of the mother company, Vision Multimedia, but she's the owner of WUFO. And in WUFO, they have broken ground last summer, even though WUFO is located right next to the Colored Musicians Club. WUFO and Sheila have broken ground for a brand new radio station that's a few yards down from the Michigan Avenue Baptist Church. So we're really looking forward to that, and just to see, it's just a wonderful cultural and anchor hub of the history of in Buffalo and Erie, and this whole area is just totally rich with people that would come here to just Frederick Douglass, Mary Talbert, and a host of other people I can't think right now, but WUFO is a very significant anchor because that's communication, and they also have a collective of history, of Black history at WUFO right now, but I'm pretty sure when they open up their new building, it's going to even be bigger and better. So there you have it. We have the, also too, this anchors into, I don't know how many people are familiar with the Freedom Wall. It's not far from here. It's Ferry and Michigan, and that's part of this African Heritage Hub too, where there's about 14 murals of significant African Americans, just not locally, but nationally, and it's an awesome reminder of how we, people that have contributed to us as a people and as American history, and just keep us focused and strong on how awesome we are as a people. Thank you. How awesome we are as a people, and we had a lot to really contribute to this country. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
America would not be America without Black history.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. So, I just want to really thank you. Sister Carrone is really an important leader in our community. She has been one of the lead organizers for the Juneteenth Festival for many years. And we're one of the largest, I think, Juneteenth festivals in the country. And I'm hoping this year we're going to participate more, maybe with a table or... So can we bless you, Sister Carrone? We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we behold the Christ in you. So I have one more story I want to share. Maybe it's a story within a story. But, it's just that quote again from James Baldwin, a journey, or to me, learning about history, a story. It calls, you never know what it will do, what you will find, or what it will do with you when you find things. And Black history is, I remember Georgia Henley's family said she doesn't know Black history. She is Black history. She's a living embodiment of it, and so it's about everybody's life. And I learned a story this week about a young girl that may not be as well known to some of us, but her name is Claudette Colvin. And she was enrolled in history classes in her high school, having little, never thinking about how that might become an life-altering experience for her. I think about the movement that Carter Woodson started, and with education and sending resource materials so that children can learn. But she was, she's kind of known as the 15-year-old who came before Rosa Parks. Her story is not so widely known, but she learned that one of the advantages of going to a segregated school is that your teachers really taught you a lot, gave you a good grounding in Black history. She said, I learned about Negro spirituals and reciting poems, and my social study teachers went into a lot of detail, and they lectured us about Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth, and I learned about this opera singer named Marian Anderson, who was so talented, but because she was Black, she wasn't allowed to sing at Constitutional Hall, so she sang in front of the Lincoln Memorial. And so one day, on March 2nd, 1955, the year I was born, this little girl, 15 years old, was riding the bus to school, and some white passengers got on. And, of course, the rule was the white people sat up front and the Black people sat in the back. But there was a little, no man's land in between of 2 or 3 rows that were kind of open for anybody. And Colvin and her 3 friends were sitting in that no man's land section. And so as the bus goes along, it stops and some more white passengers get on. And so the bus driver comes to Claudette, and her friend says, you guys have to move to the back of the bus. And her 3 friends got up and moved, but she didn't move. And she described it, she said, all these history lessons I'd been learning in school, she said, in that moment, I felt as though Harriet Tubman was pressing down on one shoulder. And I felt as though Sojourner Truth was pushing down on my other shoulder. And she said, therefore, history had me glued to my seat. That was the reason I could not move. That she was so immersed in the history that she felt their presence right there in that moment. And they said, don't move, you stay there. And so she was eventually hauled off to jail and charged with disorderly conduct and violating segregation laws and on and on. It was appealed and 2 of the charges were dismissed, but it wasn't until 67 years later that her record was expunged by a judge in Montgomery. She had been put on indefinite probation. And here she is many years later as an adult. But, but there were a lot of similarities between Claudette Colvin and Rosa Parks. You know, these are two incidents that were kind of essentially the same thing happened, but Claudette was only 15 years old. Rosa Parks was an adult woman, 28. Claudette didn't go easily off that bus. She had to be dragged off kicking and screaming, and she said, "Hell no, you're violating my rights." Whereas Rosa was very calm and said, okay, you know, she knew this was, you know, civil disobedience. Go ahead and handcuff me and carry me off. But both women were courageous and made a contribution to advancing the civil rights movement. And they both were inspired by knowing their history and continued to work throughout their lifetime for justice and civil rights. And you know, there's some other history about, you know, why it is that we don't know so much about Claudette Colvin, and we know a lot about Rosa Parks, but they both are important people to know about. And so I thought, may we all be inspired by the history that we've learned today and the history that we learn. You know, may we feel the presence of people that have gone before us on our shoulders. You know, telling us when to stand up, telling us when to sit down, telling us when to sing or to write or to act, or when to share our stories so that they can live on and be part of the living history that inspires others. And so that's why I think about why this passage is so important to me, you know, or just, you know, why these words from James Baldwin, a journey. Or, you know, the journey is just learning a story, learning our history, you know, is called that because we don't know how what we find, what we'll do with it, or what it will do with us. But it lives inside us. And it I think in the right moments, in the right time, we know what to say or how to act. And you know, that gospel writer, John, when he said, you know, there are so many stories, there's so many things you don't know about what happened in Jesus' life. There's so many things that we don't know about the history of many people or our own history. But it's infinite, and we are continuing to write those stories today just by how we live and what we do. We are being the story. And so I think about the words from John Lennon's song, Imagine. You know, imagine there's no countries, it isn't hard to do, nothing to kill or die for, no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions, I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. And so I think we're ready now for our meditation. It starts with a song, opening eyes of our heart, whatever it is.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. I want to see you.
And so let us take a few deep breaths and gently settle into this moment if you're comfortable with your eyes closed, that we're open and receptive right now to the gifts of this journey that we have shared this morning. Hearing some stories, hearing about the importance of sharing our stories and learning each other's stories. And the wonderful things that are right here in our community, literally a mile or two very nearby, that have been places where important things have happened and people have courageously come together to create a better world for everyone. And we know that each one of us has a story, has many stories about our lives that need to be shared, and we're continuing each day in how we live our lives to write another chapter of the story. So let us rest now for a few moments in the silence and bless these stories that we've heard and the stories that we carry from our own family and ancestors. think that's what the writer of the Gospel of John is inviting us to do, is to use our power of imagination to imagine. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. And so I'd like to invite Mary Beth to come forward now as our prayer chaplain to bless the prayers, and particularly we're including Bert Anderson's family today in our prayers.
As we stay in this sacred space and feel the energy and the power of love, the power of the divine presence, we take all the prayers that are on our hearts and place them in this box. And all the prayers already in this box we hold. We hand them over to God. We hand over our sorrow, our grief, as well as our hopes and our dreams, our prayers for peace, our prayers for equality and justice, our prayers for imagining a new earth, a new world, where we live together in oneness with kindness and consideration. And we just turn all this over to God. We turn everything in our heart over. We release it. We surrender it. We know it is done. It is so. Amen.
And now Thomas will share a song, Peace Return to Me.
We're actually doing Love Is My Decision.
Oh, okay, we're doing it different. Great, okay, I love that song too. Okay, we're doing Love Is My Decision. That's good, it works. Peace and love. Peace and love, everybody.
Is my decision.
Wonderful, wonderful. So just wanted to say welcome to our new friends here, newcomers. And we have guest packets. If you could raise your hand to get one now, or we'll make sure you get one before you leave, our greeters. So thank you for joining us today. So now is a time in our service where we think of this as practicing generosity, an opportunity to support the mission and vision of our ministry. And we remind people every week you can contribute through our website online. You can become one of our regular contributors through sending a check in the mail or setting up some kind of regular giving. And of course, you can give in person today. So let's just take a moment and hold in our hearts what you're giving today or throughout the month in various ways. And we think of this as thoughtful, generous giving from a grateful heart. And let's affirm together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Freely I give, and freely I receive. Thank you, God. Amen. And also, if you want to give with a credit card today, you can see Christy after the service, and she can take care of that with our iPad. We bless these gifts and see them pressed down, shaken together, heaped up, and running over, return to every giver 100-fold. Thank you, God. Amen. And for the transformational announcements, we really just have a few things. Dawn will actually be sharing the lesson for the next 2 Sundays. She's going to get, and 12 powers. We're going to, so next Sunday she'll be talking about the power of love for the month of February. And then in March, the power is strength. So we'll get our love and our strength going here. And then I'll be doing the next lesson, introducing Lent and getting started on the Lenten season. We have one thing, I don't have the sign-up sheets ready yet or not, but wanted to just announce that we are continuing in the spirit of volunteer appreciation that kicked off at the beginning of this month by our board this week decided that we want to participate this year in the Network of Religious Communities Annual Appreciation Dinner. And that's going to be on April 12th. We'll be announcing this more, but we've over the years, we've been a part of it almost every year, and a lot of people in our congregation have been recognized. And this year, we are going to honor Joyce Gaius, and who's been a part of our church for quite a while and is a big contributor in the Friendship Hour and is a board member in other ways. And Clem Olson, he's not here today, but he's been our board president for several years and has helped out with building projects and a lot of things. And Eve Wackett. Are you surprised? So we'll be announcing probably in the next week or two how you can sign up to get a dinner ticket. It's at the Grapevine, which is in Depew and Cheektowaga, and it's really a wonderful thing. You know, people come together from spiritual congregations, religious, talking about the world is one, coming together to celebrate and appreciate people in our various communities and congregations that contribute a lot. So I think we're ready to close now. We'll form a closing circle, and we'll do the first of our two songs, We're All Friends Here.